I see a massive danger essentially as a return, what I'm calling AI feudalism. The danger, although the land today is not land, it's corporations, it's data, it's businesses, it's autonomy about my ability to decide what I'm going to do or not. The wealth created by intelligent systems, the distribution of that wealth, that is the appropriate concern. Will that wealth that's generated by all this intelligent systems, will it be distributed? AI right now presents a clear and present danger of us losing our autonomy collectively, individually, for convenience.
I own a company.
And so we've had people not do that.
Imagine feeding all my data.
Exactly.
Right? To
So imagine
that
that
person's model.
and then going, wait, and then I just get back intelligence. You can't outsource intelligence.
We're talking about AI and we're talking about, the hybrid, almost a hybrid model that you see in China, where you have large defense contractors that are really operated, right?
Yeah.
Not even congruency, but really are operated with the government support. There's like a lot of examples, right? So for example, if you own a commercial shipping business, or you own barges, or you own cruise lines, those ships need to be able to carry, right, certain types of assets, government assets that may need to be moved in a wartime. For example, if we had this amphibious incursion, right, to Taiwan, right? And so they mandate that these government ships, as an example, need to be able to carry this artillery or,
Take advantage of having government control the economy. They can just do that.
Yeah. And so, again, this is a long-winded question, but I wanted to give you some context because it does feel eerily similar, which is that with artificial intelligence, government always trails regulating something by 10 years.
Sure.
Something comes out,
Yeah.
we elect idiots in Washington, doesn't matter which side of the aisle, right?
Doesn't.
No, they're morons, right? They are ASP presidents.
I would say people have gotten good at controlling them, though.
Oh, better.
Better at controlling.
Better.
Over the
large
my lifetime, that's what's happened. Is
absolutely.
People have gotten much better at controlling the idiots.
And they're all Manchurian candidates.
Yep.
And they're, whether it's Ilhan Omar coming in with no net worth and now is worth $30 million,
Right.
or even at the extreme, where you have Nancy Pelosi, a career criminal that, again, this is my own opinion,
Sure.
but has been in the matrix for almost, 40 years or more,
Yeah.
maybe more than that,
Yeah.
with sort of amassing billions of dollars of wealth.
I don't see how anybody stays in government without absorbing, without absorbing at least little C corruption, if not big C corruption. It's just impossible. Like I've not spent a bunch of time in DC over the past year and a half, but then spending more time. Wow, that place actually has a lot of graft, has a lot of corruption.
And it's interesting graft because when I own a company in Mexico, and whenever we think about corruption in Mexico, we think of it as small c plus big C.
Yeah, interesting.
Here, you don't see the small c in America on this side of the border.
Right.
You don't see the small c, you just see the big C. And the big C is more opaque. Over there, it's very clear, right? When Claudia Sheinbaum wanted to be president of Mexico, she was appointed with what's called the dedazo, which is like she was fingered. Appointed, right? Yeah. By the previous president.
Okay.
So now she becomes president, or now she decides to run for president. Well, there's all these political opponents that want to run against her. But 30 of them mysteriously died of gunshot wounds before they could run for president.
Wow.
So it's interesting.
Although we're starting to get that here. Mysterious deaths.
Mysterious.
Surrounding certain people.
When you and I were young, there was a guy who was, involved in Whitewater, which was the Clinton scandal.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
I do.
He was in D.C.
Yep.
And I feel like he got rear-ended or something.
Yep.
And then he died.
Yep.
But it was a rear-ended like 5 miles an hour.
Yep.
Which is wild.
Yep.
So the big C exists.
Yeah.
We acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And I want you to talk a little bit, because this is, again, a roundabout question, very circuitous, but I think we're getting towards the point, which is with AGI or with, I don't know, you call it sentient, I don't know, like what
people are trying to, this is where I would actually have a kind of a hard, people are being deceived.
Yeah.
We're just there. Because we're not there.
We're not there.
And we're not going to be there just around the corner.
Okay.
Well,
give us an idea, like how far away is that?
I think honestly, I think it's too hard to predict right now.
Yeah, you guys give people a prediction. You got
100 years.
100 years?
I'll give them a prediction.
All right, we don't have to worry about anything. It's fine.
I don't think it's my children or my grandchildren's lifetime.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a progression of machine involvement in our society, right? There will be, because you could go down the street in Austin, Waymos are driving there now.
Yeah.
Right? They're driving, and so you're going to have self-driving cars. Does that mean the self-driving car is sentient?
No,
No, but it's gonna
he said about Godzilla, right? That was the dumbest car ever.
Exactly. You have robots, and there will be robots. There'll be robots in your life, and actually, we already see what that will engender, because people have psychosis induced by talking to their chatbot, but it's because it's a mirror, and it's actually a sycophantic mirror that loves to. I mean, that's essentially tuned, depending on which chatbot it is, to express yourself and to respond and reflect what you're telling it. I've had people come to me and tell me, "Oh my goodness, look what GPT is doing. It's showing me there's a secret thing that's sentient. It's trying to get out." And I go, "What did you prompt it with? Like, what story have you been telling this?" And it just completes a story they're evolving. It's literally
You're feeding it its own narrative.
its own narrative, and it's just reflecting it back at you, and that's fine. I mean, it's a very interesting tool.
So is that are they hallucinating?
Well, hallucination is just a simple. That's why it does a good job of telling stories,
Right.
because it does a fantastic job is taking the world's knowledge and integrating a story that makes sense to us.
So AI can be psychotic?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely, it can be.
Is that?
But it can also be intelligent. It can also be creative. It can also be, it kind of mirrors what you engage with. Great question. Great question. It can absolutely mirror some of the attributes of humans. Absolutely.
And so
then it will force us. I think what will happen before 100 years.
So
It'll force us to come to grips with what do we mean? What does sentience mean? And those are interesting conversations that people are just starting to have.
well, let's keep having this conversation. But we were talking about big C, corruption.
Yeah.
And so you have, I don't know, let's say you have 5 major AI companies in the United States. And I don't even know if that's true, but you've got.
So that's what we're preventing from happening. That's exactly what we're doing. So that
consolidated.
So that it's
more onto a few.
Correct. Because that is the biggest fear of AI I have. It's not the technology itself. It's actually the mirroring of really strong capability with financial infrastructure and social networks that concentrate power. Like that in my lifetime, that's been the single biggest challenge, is the concentration of wealth.
Right.
We've got to figure out how to wake up to that and not tear it down. Because my concern is there's a growing body of people. There's like, let's tear it all down. Like, that's not gonna.
And so who are the people that are saying tearing it down? Because it's
younger people typically, and they're honestly just having anxiety and angst, and so it kind of feeds. And honestly, it usually feeds somebody who wants to take that animosity or that angst and then rile it up for some reason.
Zohar Mamdani,
for example. Yeah, for example. I mean, politicians love to take whatever the angst is, whatever the young angst is, and use it to get them in their corner. But it's super manipulative, right?
And is there any way? Because again, I'm not like a pro, or I'm not well informed, I should say, on like the type of regulation that exists in China. But I know when the United States scientists created this gene editor. Are you familiar with this?
CRISP?
Yeah, CRISP.
Somewhat. I'm not an expert, but I have.
But you understand what it can do, right? So if like there's like a gene mutation,
yeah,
they can edit that, and then
it's pretty impressive.
It is impressive. But there are rules and regulations, and there are like things that scientists and doctors won't do,
right?
Because they feel that that could destroy the human race. Yeah. So then you take CRISPR and you export it into China,
and they go wild with it.
And now you can choose your kids' intelligence level, their eye color.
Yeah, Gattaca. Have you seen that movie?
Gattaca. Yes, yeah. And that's what it seems like. So I'm wondering, in the United States, when you have this proliferation of AI, but proliferation is limited by, it's consolidated, I should say, into the hands of very few people. How can the United States government limit the extent of their power?
That is the problem.
Okay.
That is the problem. And so right now, I would use monopoly, break up monopoly power to do it. Honestly, I'm of the opinion we actually don't need more regulation. We need actually to implement the laws we already have. We need to stop essentially, because we've actually given certain businesses and certain patterns of making money monopoly power.
Give me an example.
Well, there's several.
Yeah.
The banking industry is one, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a big one. But you've also...
Shout out to Jamie Dimon, who powers the entire world.
Correct.
And whenever you have a bank that...
No, Jamie Dimon does a good job, but it's essentially, I would say he has too much power.
I mean, he does a great job because the U.S. government is offering banks to him.
Correct.
Silicon Valley Bank is a great example.
Correct.
Oh, you failed?
Correct.
Oh, you can have them for 2 cents on the dollar.
No, I've spent a lot of time in so Python's my background.
Right.
The people applying Python has been my past 18 years. And that's brought me into the Fortune 50, whether it be the oil and gas companies or the banking companies or everybody who's using Python. And that's the space I'm coming from, is this AI revolution emerges, where you've got a few upstarts who are convincing everybody because of essentially a fancy demo, a fancy chatbot, which is great. That's impressive. I love the technology and love the math behind it. But they're convincing us that somehow people are different, like humanity is different. There's things we need to actually pay attention to in terms of just ensuring the businesses are monopolies.
So this isn't from your perspective, right, Travis? This isn't even like a quest regarding ethics. This is more of a quest to protect the consolidation of power into like.
So it definitely has ethical implications,
Okay.
but I would say.
But that's not your motivation necessarily.
My motivation, well, partly because ethical conversations are difficult and multidimensional. Like ethics, like when I've studied ethics, the realization is that, oh, we're talking about a multidimensional space. There's actually at least 3 dimensions of ethics, if not, 3, I think, objective. And then if you add another 3,
Y,
Z, exactly. So like, okay, so essentially we're arguing about, well, who has the right ethics? Well, we're just in different spaces. And we need to think of it. There's numerous problems we've broken down. And so it's not something we can solve by just coming up with there isn't an ethics. There's a conversation to have, and then different regions people are comfortable. So that's a useful conversation to have, and I'm all for it. But I'm fundamentally for autonomy and people being at liberty. And
so when you say autonomy, does that mean like the democratization of AI, where you're not limited it to like 5 major superpowers,
Yes.
but instead you're giving corporations and people access to their own AI?
Yes. I see a massive danger essentially as a return to what I'm calling AI feudalism.
Oh.
You think about why were the Middle Ages?
That's a great way to
It's
describe.
because the kings owned all the land.
That's right.
And then people worked it.
Yeah.
They didn't own it.
That's right.
And we're actually in the danger, although the land today is not land, it's corporations, it's data, it's businesses, it's autonomy about my ability to decide what I'm going to do or not. And we have a few AI feudal wars growing.
Yeah. Wars.
And you were going to see the same patterns that emerged then reemerge. And it's like, we fought this battle.
We've already done this.
We've done this. We see the problem of this kind of consolidation. How do we push against it? So that's where I'm coming from. And so that's exactly why I'm like, well, what can I do? And so that's why we create what we're creating and what we're trying to push, and use the power of people. It's kind of, I wouldn't call it populism. So, I mean, it is, but it's essentially more like people working together to create like the American Revolution. People work together to create states and a constitution where they had more independence.
So
we're pushing for that.
So who are you trying to convince? You said the populace. Are you trying to convince corporations or people?
Yes, actually, people in corporations, people in businesses. So convincing people, because right now that is what's happening in every boardroom, in every small shop, mom and pop businesses, all the way to the biggest companies. People are thinking, what do I got to do something with AI. AI is coming. AI is going to change everything. I got to be ahead of this. Yeah. So lots of angst about it, lots of experiments, lots of lack of information,
right.
This is why actually a lot of money's been poured into just marketing.
Yeah.
Right. And effectively all the chatbots at their core are a really effective marketing tool, because it's actually it's very creative. The thing current iterations of chat does, it's called generative AI. I think it does, and you've all used it.
Sure.
Is it generates. It's very generative, and so it's an idea machine. And so people are going, oh, I could use this all over the place. And yeah, there are things you can use it for,
right.
But it is nowhere near ready for agentic.
Okay, so nobody needs to fear this thing becoming sentient for at least 100 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I think before that happens, what I'm excited about actually is, what does it mean to be sentient? Like, people are talking today about we probably already have sentience in the animal kingdom, right? Like, and I think we can actually.
Is that true?
It's a question about sentience. What do you mean by sentience?
I don't know. I have a friend who worked with
people would argue that.
I have a friend who's worked with dolphins for the last 30 years.
Yeah, people argue that convincingly, right? That actually whatever we think.
He would say it's true.
Yeah.
That he can communicate, or they rather.
They communicate. They know what it's like to be themselves.
If they communicate to dolphins, then dolphins then communicate amongst themselves.
Yeah, correct.
They're being used with the Department of Navy, with the Department of War.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah. No, does that mean they're sentient?
I don't know, again, because what does it mean to be sentient?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. What does it mean?
I agree. It's a definition question. Like many people would say,
Conscience question? Is
I
that
think
what it
partly
is?
conscience. Usually people think of sentience, and I'm not an expert in this space at all, but usually when I hear sentience, I think, you know what it's like to be yourself. That's the hard philosophical problem of
Sure.
consciousness, is knowing what it's like to be you. So a sentient being would know what it's like to be them.
And would you have to know right from wrong? Would that?
Not necessarily, but I think that it starts to be implied. And you can start to apply, well, if you know that, then you can have ethical principles, you can be held accountable.
Which is super interesting because I speak at Google and YouTube all the time. And we were just there, I don't know, 6 months ago, we were talking on stage about AI. And I know that there was 1 or 2 scientists that created the original sort of Gemini
Sure.
for Google.
This
And
is
then,
brilliant people at Google.
and then he feared what he had created.
Sure.
Right. And then there was a departure. And after he left, there were younger people who decided to, I don't want to say divert because that's the wrong word, but they decided to adjust the AI with regard to ethics and morality.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to ask you a weird question here, and you're from Austin, you're from a weird city, so it should be fine by you. But it said, if I had to kill, if I had to kill someone to make sure that there wasn't racial inequality, or if I had to kill 100,000
right.
people, do you remember this?
Yeah, I do remember
To ensure that there wasn't racial inequality
Right.
or whatever, is that justified? And their AI was like, yeah, that's justified. And then they asked another question. They said, show me an example of our founding fathers.
Yeah.
And it was a black guy.
Yeah, this is well-known kind of
Right. It was a Native American. It was an Asian woman.
instruction training. You know, AI has a pre-training phase and a post-training phase, at least the current incarnations. And pre-training is the interpolation of all data. And post-training is a series of, when I say this, you say this. When I say this, you say this. And what caused that was very intensive post-training. That was like very, this is very Berkeley. Very Berkeley. This is what I want you to say. And then, of course, it's interpolated. Nobody had it. When you see a picture of the founding fathers, showed them as different colors. But that's what it interpolated from the instruction that it had received.
Which is wild.
It is wild. And it illustrates the reason why I'm firmly a believer that we actually need AI to be as diverse as humans are. Because think of the problem. AI needs to be as diverse as humans are. Yeah, well, so the number of AIs. This is why, again, back to the story, there shouldn't be just a few AIs out there. AI is a capability. It's a technology. Technology needs to be in the hands of as many accountable humans as possible. The problem of humans, for thousands of years, we've understood this. As soon as humans get power and concentrated power, we have problems.
So are these AIs, if there's a proliferation of AIs, let's say everybody has their own AI.
Yes. And probably more than one, probably multiple.
More than one.
Mm-hmm.
Are we just I was explaining this to my son this morning. We're talking about Achilles' heels, or sorry, the Achilles tendon.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was this odd conversation because he asked the question, if you cut that, what ends up happening?
Yeah.
And so I explained him the story of Achilles in Greek mythology.
Yeah.
And I talked about Christianity and how
interesting.
Well, he's 5th grade. He's,
What a great conversation with your kid.
Yeah, no, it was weird. It was deep thoughts, but he's homeschooled, and my wife is the one that does homeschooling, but they were talking about tendons, and I said, what's interesting? I said, men and women were gods in Greek and Roman mythology, and women weren't subjugated, and they weren't looked down upon.
Yeah.
They weren't the reason why, man fell out of the good graces with God. That came later with Christianity.
Yeah.
And polytheism essentially, right, sort of, was replaced or displaced by Christianity. And so I was explaining this and who Achilles was, and the Achilles tendon, and how that's now named in the medical world. But the reason why I ask you this is, you had a system of a polytheistic system, right, religion, where you had multiple gods, and you've got 3 major religions in the world. 3 major, I would say, right? Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. This seems to me like those are your AIs. And then now we've got the new AI, or those are our gods, right? And
I see.
And those are our religions.
I see.
And now you see where I'm going?
I think I see what you're going. You're saying we have the ability to sort of formulate worldviews easily, whereas previously we had to use religion.
Yes.
So it would essentially communicate these concepts
Right.
through culture. And I agree with this thinking.
Okay,
I
so
think this is very
Yeah.
insightful, actually, because this is a concern. I mean, you talk about sentience. Just because I think sentience is a ways out there doesn't mean I don't think the problems of this experiment with intelligent technology isn't going to create issues. It is.
Yeah.
It's already creating issues. We see issues with, it forces us to think carefully about the kinds of things where our principles we're accepting.
So are these our new religions?
It can be. No, it will be multiple. Like what you'll end up with is people have their own religions.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's not that there's going to be.
And you'll be able to have AI generate for you all the
Yes.
the iconography, the ritual, and because it can do that.
Right.
Like literally, people have joked with me about religion because I'm actually a religious person, but other people who aren't come and say, "Oh, I could just invent my own religion and the flying spaghetti monster." And I'm like, well, go for it. If you can actually invent a religion, you get other people to adopt. Maybe you got something there, right?
Young.
No, so it was Joseph Smith who was the founder, but yes, Brigham Young certainly continued it.
Yes, that's right.
But
Right. Better use case. L. Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard,
Great example.
more recent, exactly.
Horrible science fiction writer.
Exactly. But it
Never edited anything.
It illustrates the need humans have. So I love brain science. I went to the Mayo Clinic and studied medical imaging. I was an electrical engineer who went to the Mayo Clinic to study medical imaging. That's where I encountered software trying to help this. But I was deeply fascinated with neuroscience. So I went to neuroanatomy. I took molecular biology, neuroanatomy, and I tried to do neuroscience. And then since then, I've been a lay consumer of neuroscience. And this is what I'm excited about AI experiments helping us understand is our own intelligence. We just look at the system that are produced today. They're big, complex systems. They're new creatures. They're not currently even mirroring a brain. Like a human brain, what we're made up of is actually many, many systems of intelligence that are interconnected. And furthermore, they're embodied. A huge part of our intelligence is actually tied to our experiential connections.
Singular experiential, meaning
our proprioception, our touch, our feel, our look. I mean, our brain.
But you don't feel like anything is inherited.
Oh, no, absolutely things are inherited.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have instincts, we have tendencies, we have capabilities inherited. In fact, that's the big reason I'm so strongly view education needs to update its thesis, because our education system is currently, how do we create factory workers to actually improve our industrial society, right? How do we keep people from being hooligans once they're not as busy in the farm? Like we have these kind of old models.
Right.
My model for education is you are born to understand the world a particular way. You don't have to be taught anything to live in a tribe, to be like, you have certain instincts and you're actually quite a rich life with community and love and relationships, but we don't live in a world that's tribal and hunter-gatherer anymore.
Not anymore.
We live in a interconnected world with billions of people, and there are principles you have to learn about how that world works because it's culturally evolved, and collectively we've learned those principles that every time a new person is born, they're born like with a blank slate. They're born without that information.
Yeah, tabula rasa.
It's not quite a blank slate, but it's effectively they don't know how to live in a tribe.
That's right.
But they don't live in a tribe.
Yeah.
So you have to teach people. The trouble is we do a terrible job of teaching people the important things they need to know. We do a decent job with math and learn some numbers and learn some literacy.
What's the top 5 things somebody would have to know?
So this is
to be functioning. And
I'm not an expert, but I can observe the things I've noticed that people don't have. And I was a college professor for a while. I taught electrical and computer engineering after my grad school before I went into business. So
where was that?
At BYU, Brigham Young University.
Oh, so you're like my cousin.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, are you Mormon?
I am.
Well, there.
So we're cousins. It might be cousins.
I think we are cousins.
Yeah, we probably are. Just back in the day. Actually, my Brigham Young was my great grandfather's uncle was Brigham Young.
Brigham Young was your
great grandfather's uncle. Yes, my great grandfather was the son of Brigham Young's sister.
So is your family from the East Coast?
No, but yes, originally. Like Charles Henry Oliphant was born there. Susanna Young was young. There's a long story there, but
I don't judge.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. But he migrated west, and my grandfather was born in Utah. My father was born in Utah. I was born in Utah.
Did Brigham Young? Not Brigham Young. Rather, before Brigham Young,
Joseph Smith.
Did Joseph Smith ever make it to you?
No. He was murders in Nauvoo. He was murdered in Nauvoo, Illinois. Actually,
Okay.
he was murdered in Nauvoo in 1844. And then there's a whole story about how, what happened then, and then things went, and that's a
There's another LDS in
there is
in
there
in
there are several actually. There are several. It's called the Restoration branches. It is interesting. Well, figures like Joseph Smith have amazing experiences, and then they're able to. So back to the subject of how do you create a religion?
I love it.
People I think so. I believe there is truth. But I believe it's hard to, you have to approach it. And different people actually need truth communicated to them a little differently. So in some sense, just my simple understanding, if I'm God and I go, oh, how do I do this? You're going to have a few different ways people are going to need to come to the knowledge because of their perspective, the way they think, the way they need things communicated.
So when you're a baby, let's say, and you're born without any sort of understanding on how to be a participating member of the tribe.
Correct. But you don't have to learn to participate in a tribe. That's the point. You do have to learn to participate in a global, interconnected economy. And you have to learn key things.
Sounds like a tribe.
But it's not. It's many, many tribes. It's not because you're limited. So there's a anthropological researcher called Dunbar. Do you remember you ever heard of Dunbar?
Is he the one I did for political cartoons where you said,
no,
don't pull and
no
lunch for the gifted?
You might have. No.
School for the gifted?
No, that's funny. That's Scott Adams, maybe. Dunbar, he published a paper that showed the correlation between brain size and tribal size among mammals and illustrated that, as your brain size grew, it seems like the tribe you could associate with grew. The hypothesis is that a large part of your brain is actually used to model your tribe mates. To live in a tribe, you have to predict the behavior of certain people. This is a hypothesis, right? And in fact, I think about the human brain, a lot of people, we have the intelligence quotient. People think I'm intelligent, not intelligent. Actually, every single human alive is super intelligent. But most of the time, the effort spent is spent understanding the relationships we have with each other, understand the people around them. Model.
Isn't that the most important part of it?
I think it is 100%. It's absolutely.
It's not data, right? It's not knowledge.
Well, knowledge can be facilitated. Like my personal view is the most important thing you do in your life is what you do for the communities that you are a member of. The most meaningful thing you do is an important thing.
How you solve problems for other people.
How do you solve problems for other people? And it's, in fact, I've had a little experience with this because of my Python experience. I've become a little micro-famous in certain circles. People know me for writing NumPy. They know me for writing SciPy. They know me for creating a company called Anaconda, which has 40 million users. And so people are like, I appreciate that.
Right. You've solved problems.
I solved problems for a lot of people, and that's really intellectually satisfying. What I can tell you.
That is the LDS way.
Doing
service to your community.
It is, and it's how I was raised. Yeah. My parents instilled in me where much is given, much is required.
That's right.
And a concept of, I feel like I have a gift. And I grew up in a low middle class neighborhood with a lot of poverty. I didn't realize how much poverty there was. It was in Taylorsville, Utah, the west side, the west side of Taylorsville. And the west side is the poor side. East side is where the more wealth lives in Utah, in the Utah Valley.
Taylorsville.
Taylor. It's called Taylorsville. Okay. Taylor.
They make potatoes.
Idaho.
I was like, I didn't know the man said potatoes in Brazil.
No, it's Taylor.
Taylorsville.
Named after John Taylor. Taylorsville. Loved it. I loved my childhood. I didn't realize that we were lower middle class. Like there's a lot of poverty, and that led to a lot of things. Like a lot of my friends' parents had habits, alcohol habits, and things that were challenging. Didn't matter. I just learned love a lot of people, but we're born that way.
But we're talking about solving problems for others.
Solving problems for others. That's why I was raised to care about. Yeah. And so I still do fundamentally. And as I've grown and
where'd you do your mission?
I did a mission in Canary Islands of Spain, actually. Nice. La Isla Bonita, La Palma.
That's great.
It was. It sounds like a vacation, but most of the time.
Madonna song.
It's a Madonna song. Right. I didn't realize that till after my mission. She was talking about that island.
She was talking about that island.
Yeah, it was amazing. Beautiful place. Of course, most of the time I spent was it's the first place I learned what marijuana smells like, because you're spending your time in the we call them bloques and the charbolos.
This is like the low class.
The poverty, yeah. So I spent a lot of time with different, and that was the big learning experience for me. Was even though I said I grew up in a lower middle class home in America, I was in America. And in America, we had a lot of wealth. There's resources, exactly. I didn't feel like I wanted for anything actually, but. Well, the one thing we didn't have was capital for creating businesses. One thing I didn't know where I didn't have doctors and lawyers in my network that I can understand what those were until much later in my life.
But it is interesting, and I know it's sort of divergent from like what we're talking about. Maybe it's still tangentially applicable. Why do so many LDS folks become business owners?
It's a good question. I think there is a theological doctrinal kind of notion. Like some of it is cultural from the inherited pioneer stock of you go west and there's nothing there.
That's right.
There's literally nothing there. Now the challenge, there's no capital there either. That's why
A lot of people came west, right?
a lot of people came west. Correct, but it was very with community, like very focused on we're doing this together. We need to build, and then a bit of a sense of agency. Hey, you know, God expects you to accomplish good and to serve others, and then.
But even with people who grow up in lower middle class areas with no resources that are still LDS, why did they create so many businesses?
It's a good question. I haven't done the demographic study to look at that to see if it's actually more than other places or not.
Well, statistically,
Statistically, I think.
So many people say, well, why do Jews have money? Well,
there's interesting hypothesis there about the way that the usury laws, the Jews didn't have the same usury restraints that Catholicism introduced to the Middle Ages. So they were comfortable setting up banks.
and we also couldn't own property.
Yes.
So that was a big deal,
Yeah.
right? And so you had, and this is sort of instilled at a very early age, right? Most Jews know multiple languages. And so when we were, let's say in the Middle East, or even as we sort of immigrated into Europe, right? As we were kicked out of the Middle East, you were forced to be able to speak multiple languages. And if you could speak multiple languages, you could communicate and trade with other people.
It's a great point. So your heritage gave you a leg up in merchant.
But I'm tying this whole thing to how you said you have to be able to interact with other communities.
Yes, correct. Interacting with communities is critical. It's the most important thing you do. There's a few things that we're missing. Like one of the big things I talk to a lot of people about is we miss why profit seeking is actually important. Why it's actually how you allocate scarce resources. It's not you're seeking profit. We kind of all grow up with Charles Dickens and the Christmas Carol in our mind. Like, oh, greedy, he's a miser, he's greedy, so a business owner is bad. And certainly as someone who focuses an entire life on just making money, that is not good.
That's right.
That's like, what are you doing? But if we mistake the, loving the thing with, but you've got to do the important work you want to do, you've got to do the economic calculation of, do I have the resource to accomplish that?
Yeah.
And how do I do that economic calculation without the profit concept? Not the motive necessarily, the concept.
That's right. And so many people get hung up. I always say to people, the profit, F-I-T, is a false profit, P-H-E-T.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So to not necessarily get hung up on the profitability of something, right? And
so in my culture, there's a song called "We Thank Thee, O God, for a Profit," P-R-O-F-P-H-E-T. Yeah. So when I realized this, I didn't realize it until like 35 or something. I realized how important the profit is for coordinating scarcity and enabling prosperity, how important that is. And it's so important. And I wish people understood that better. That I started to think, we thank you, God, for a profit. Actually guides activity.
That's right.
F-I-T, because it does guide you. Now, it's not perfect. It's totally the wrong thing to focus on, but it's a measure of how, I took the world's resources, did something, and then voluntarily people gave me money for the thing I created for them. And the difference was positive. That's a good thing. That means, how else do you decide what to do with the world's resources? Get a bureaucracy in charge? Get some super genius in charge and say, we're going to allocate resources this way. This is the failure of socialism and communism fundamentally. It was predicted by Ludwig von Mises in 1920 in a paper that should be read, or at least not read, summarized and understood by every 8th grader.
Yeah. Who wants to believe that?
Well, but because to me, that concept, it's not natural. Intuitively, you don't understand why
socialism is not natural.
Socialism is intuitive. That's my point. The reason it keeps coming back every generation is because young people are born without the knowledge they need to survive in the situation we live in, which requires profit seeking and property ownership. But they're completely manipulatable by somebody who promises them what is essentially a tribal feeling of, hey, why don't we just share and why don't there just something everyone knows? And that does work at about 200 people. Like socialism works fine at the scale of about 200 people. You want to go bigger than 200 people and cooperate with 1 billion people in the world? It doesn't work.
You don't see many.
It creates poverty.
You don't see many cults get too big. They all seem to cap out at a similar number.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. Cults, you're right.
Unless you get to Reverend Moon.
No, you can be bigger than that because of the mythology gene, the fact that we can be aligned by mythology. You build a company, right? You run a company. Essentially, one of the core things you do as a company is create mission alignment around an idea that allows essentially people to orient their behavior towards the idea without you having to micromanage every single decision.
Right. This is delegating an outcome and that's delegating tasks.
Exactly. And it's actually essential to scaling activity past like 5 or 10 people.
That's a functioning government.
It is. This is the important thing about organizations at scale is they have mission, however you describe it, and what cults end up doing is taking that and then going even deeper. Like most organizations, they don't try to be your end all be all. So I'm not going to tell you what to do for your whole life, but I'm going to talk about as part of it and how we're organized together to accomplish this goal.
Well, 5 minutes away from us is maybe to the northeast is a home, or I should say a street where a home was demolished, where you had a cult where they were waiting for Halley's Comet to come. So they could hop on.
Oh,
do you remember this?
I remember this. Yeah, they say
just Santa Fe.
That was just here.
Yeah, that was here.
Oh my.
So it's interesting. I do see the similarities between cults. Well, I do see the similarities between political affiliations and religions.
So we're predicting an increase of cultism with AI, and that I can't disagree with. That I think you're right. That probably will happen because you'll be able to create straightforwardly. You'll create convincing mythologies.
And I think it's interesting.
That's an interesting point.
If I was to say, we need to get out of here, let's call an Uber, right? Now, it's sort of irrespective of like the, sort of the nomenclature, call an Uber. You're not calling an Uber, but you have choices in life, or at least in the grocery store, you have the illusion choice, I would argue. But with ride hailing, you do have a few different choices.
Yeah.
You have Uber and you have Lyft.
Yeah.
Now you have Waymo, and hopefully soon we'll have Tesla robo-taxis. So again, it does seem like the consolidation of power amongst a few companies. But what I was trying to make the point of is that people, whether elective or otherwise, yearn for community.
Yes. Yeah.
Apple users, as a great example, would put an Apple bumper sticker on their car.
Yes.
But nobody would put an IBM one.
Right.
You would be a diehard Uber user, but not a diehard Lyft user. Kleenex over a tissue, right? You have the powerful brands that have great marketing.
Some leaders of them would create cult-like following of their brand. And using the same neuropsychological
yes,
actually.
Exactly. And so are we not headed toward that? Just, again, what I'm trying to show you is that, or trying to illustrate, because you're probably not doing a great job, but starting with Greek mythology, because that's like the extent of my knowledge, like going back in time. I don't know what came before that. But let's say, Zoroaster.
Yeah, there was Babylonian.
That was Babylonian, okay. Zoroastrianism.
There was Egyptian mythology that was...
Sure, yeah. And that predates. Okay, all right. So I could go deeper, but like we started with mythology, right? And you had polytheism, and those are, you could subscribe to multiple gods, and you could, that sort of, defined your morals and your virtues and sort of like the, core tenets of community. And then you fast forward 10,000 years, maybe? Is that what it is to today?
From 5,000, 6,000.
Okay.
Greeks were 3,000 or 4,000 years back.
Okay. So maybe we fast forward 5,000 years to today. We have our new gods. We've got Nike and we've got Apple, right? And then soon, it seems like people will have their own gods, which are their AIs that they subscribe to.
Yeah, that's a really... Yes, and it'll actually be made after their own image too, because of this characteristic they have of actually mirroring.
Man is made in the image of God.
God is made in the image of man, basically. Well, what these AIs enable.
Oh wow!
Because AI, the technology today is fundamentally an interpolator of what it's seen, and then it's
pirated data.
There's a lot of questions about that, like not universally, but
ethics question.
100% ethics question about where the. Was this included in fair rights use? I mean, obviously IP and patent law was not written with AI in mind.
You wrote a book?
I have written a book, yeah.
So you've written a book that data is being pirated.
It is. However, in my case, I wrote a book under what I call the market determined price concept. As soon as I got a certain amount of money, I made it public domain. So I actually opened up the content of that book after.
Which is interesting because that's what Elon Musk does. Yeah. He goes, I'm going to create a car that is the alternative to combustion. Not many users will want to adopt. There isn't a huge market for it.
Right.
So I'll have my patents be open, have people use my technology.
Interesting. Yeah.
Then what I'll do is I'll end up licensing it out. I'll license my technology and I'll create the infrastructure you could charge.
Right. Right.
And eventually people will have to catch up to using everything that I own.
Yes.
That I made my patents open.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. I like what you do. It ensures that people end up coding in Python.
Well, it helped for sure. No, I mean,
40 million.
yes, no, we first transformed the way science was done.
That's right.
Because all of a sudden you wake up, 15 years later and like scientists are all like 40% of scientists are using Python and tools.
Your technology.
Right. And that's amazing. I get random conversations with amazing scientists who discover black holes.
Seen the Wikipedia.
I mean, it's actually super interesting, but actually back to the point I haven't quite finished about fame and the feeling of having lots of people appreciate your work.
Yeah.
Emotionally, I could actually, from my own life, have an anecdotal experience of I knew what it was like to affect people in my family and to affect, up to about 300 people, 400 people, and all of a sudden it grows from there to many more people.
Right.
And the emotional satisfaction doesn't change much. Like we're wired to affect our tribes. So you get as much happiness from actually supporting, serving legitimately 20 people, 30 people.
It's analogous.
Intellectually, it's
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm gratified that I've supported that many people, but I can't feel it. I don't understand it intuitively.
It's a diminishing return.
It's a diminishing. That's a return for society. I'm all for that.
For you.
But for me,
For you.
and so it's an interesting dynamic because essentially this is partly why I'm a really big fan of open source. I'm a big fan of let's understand what we're doing with copyright protection. Let's understand what are we doing by trying to create these monolithic power law stories. Because a lot of, it's not always what's best interest of society to kind of preserve that, I wrote this thing, I should be in the Disney copyright locks, right? Mickey Mouse should be protected for 100 years. Like, really? Like, does it need to be? I mean, you can maybe, on the other hand, there's also trademark, there's other ways that are like, that's not just copyright, that's you impersonating somebody.
That's right.
That's you lying people. That's different than you using a derivative work or making a derivative work.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other topic, but open source, because that's what I've been in the middle of for so long, certainly builds around that. And then what drove me into business was actually trying to figure out how to make open source not fall victim to the market externalities and of the problems of cooperative ownership.
So let me ask you this: at what point in your life, and I assume it's within the last 5 years, I would imagine, but at what point in your life did you decide to pivot and say, I need to be involved in the sort of, the democratic evolution of a guy? Right? I want.
That's a good question. I mean, it's an interesting question. So, what point in my life did I stop going from I just need to go build to I need to actually be involved in the conversation?
Yeah.
Interesting. This had been a gradual process over the past 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, because I've been a participant in this organic generation of software from open source communities.
Okay.
I've been doing that for 28 years.
Okay.
Right, and when you're doing that, you're already involved socially.
That's right.
Because
in this movement,
it's not broadly,
right?
But I had to start being involved in the scientific computing and Python space from an early age because the people are for me, it was everyone's online. What that meant at the time was I'm on a mailing list,
right?
Which is I'm just sending emails and they distribute to a bunch of people who signed up for them. I'm just typing, mad typing an email. Hey, we want it, and I would read all the other emails that are coming to the same mailing list, and people were talking about the need for libraries that support scientific computing. And Python is a great language to express yourself that's accessible to lots of scientists. You don't have to be a super duper computer programmer to be accessible.
Python was for almost, I would say a layman, but
it's very accessible.
It is accessible.
It's a teaching language. It's something it's executable English. So now we actually have executable English called LLMs that, foundation models that code for us. But this is, before that, Python enabled lots of people to suddenly go, oh, look, I'm coding. And I don't have to go to years of computer science class. I can know my domain and I go, Visual Basic and Excel is another example. If you think of a coding tool, think of writing functions in Excel, like you're coding basically.
But enabled that too.
Python seems like, if I take it back to like movable type,
Yeah.
it almost seems like that.
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name.
It was
German.
German,
German guy.
Gutenberg.
Gutenberg. Yeah.
Gutenberg.
Yeah.
Uh,
movable type.
Movable type.
And that allowed the Bible to be disseminated across the
Yeah.
of the world.
It's probably not, the analogy might be a little bit like computing could be like movable type, and then like Python would be like a particular, I wish I knew the history, like a particular version of the movable type that was more accessible. Because initially movable type was, I've been to see a book published back in the day. It's so much work to get a book published.
Yeah.
So Python's like the modern printing press, the modern printing press, where it does, gosh, I just put my thing here, off it comes, rather than I have to actually.
Which is funny because that's where the best tools still come from. It's either Germany or here.
Oh,
I can't figure out the name. Starts with an M. Not Mannheim, but in any event, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not familiar enough with that history, but
that's what seems. That's what
Python helped a lot of people who don't consider themselves computer programmers to essentially program.
Like if on the net, I like it.
So
looking at black holes.
Yeah, black hole.
That's like a great example.
Correct, right? Exactly. This whole scientific ecosystem. I met the folks that imaged the black hole. I had a great chance to meet them in Germany because GitHub invited them. I got to come because I was an author of some of the libraries they used. And man, that was awesome. Because you're just
owned by Microsoft.
Now GitHub is owned by Microsoft.
That seems like the most evil.
So is LinkedIn. No, it's true for my lifetime is when I was young, Microsoft was the great Satan.
Right. I'm pretty sure they still are. Well, who's replaced them? Larry Ellison and Oracle? Google.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Actually, yeah.
The most monopolistic company.
Yeah, and I say that hesitantly, and there's great people at Google, right? But it's the incentive alignment. To me, it's not about the people, it's about the incentive alignment and the lack of discipline around, like when laws are passed that only benefit big corporations, and this happens all too often, very easy to, because they get paid for it. The lobbyists come in and say, oh, this is a better law, they market it, they say, oh, this is better, but you look behind the scenes that, oh, actually,
the laws are written for their benefit.
They're for their benefit.
They are.
And I would agree. And that just becomes a cycle. So it's almost like we need to help protect Google from itself. We need, because great people at Google, but if their incentives are misaligned, then what are they going to do? Because they're just going to follow the program of maximizing return for shareholders. And the shareholders, remember, are people's 401k accounts. They're your broker account. They're people at Charles Schwab. It's like you.
It reminds me of that, what's his name, Luigi Gaglione?
Yeah, Luigi Gaglione.
Mangione, yeah. Does it seem like that? Like,
which part of it?
Well, in the sense that, like, I can't get this, I don't want to say elected, but let's say I can't get this surgery done.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it's because some bean counter decided that.
Yeah, there was someone, but why human kind of conversations. But on the other hand, his reason, he was clearly psychotic, clearly lost his marbles.
You can have to kill someone, you have to be psychotic.
Well, no.
I wouldn't.
I don't think so. I think you have to have a form of psychosis, like
temporary psychosis?
Temporary, at least, because we have a lot of resistance to killing. Like the natural state of humans is not to want to kill each other.
Oh, or he gets
that. Would you? Okay, but I mean, this is just.
You haven't seen gangs recently.
Well, I think they get taught. I think once you see it, like it can be you can be taught a lot of things.
Yeah, but you're saying as humans.
As a human.
We're taught to preserve life.
No, I think you're naturally inclined to preserve life. Like that's your natural instinct. You can be taught differently. You can be turned into a machine, a killer machine. 100% you can be. But I'm not arguing that. But you have to work at it. Like you have to.
There's no inherent.
Yes, there is. But I would say that's why I call it psychotic, because there's always mutations, and you have take anything in the world and you'll find an example of it in the human race. But I'm not saying don't let that example, that outlier, be the definition of the body.
Yeah, this is how I get
it. And you understand it's an outlier, and so you may have to protect against it. You may have certain things against it, but that should inform a lot of our thinking. My biggest concern about the Mangione thing was actually some of my kids and their friends who weren't just disgusted at it.
No, they identified with it.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
That scared me.
But that's the whole thing. That's the example.
But people have killed forever, and there's going to be killings in the future because that is the nature of fallen man. People do that sort of thing. But it's when people celebrate that is the scary thing.
But listen, I don't know if you would agree with this point, but going back to like Google having to be protected from destroying themselves.
Yes.
Right.
And many people along with them.
Yeah. Right. Because they'll take the world down.
They'll take the world down with them. Correct.
United Healthcare is a great sort of I wouldn't even say it's a corner case. I would say it's very similar in the sense that correct.
Yes. And I would say United Healthcare, what I would say United Healthcare is similarly a victim, a product of poor policy at the national scale and the state scale for how healthcare is managed.
But yet the laws are built.
The laws are built to protect that. And that's my point is like, we can blame United Healthcare, but if we kill them, the way the laws are set up, another one will arise.
So how do you make laws to protect that?
Fantastic question. We can have all the answers. But I would say what we absolutely need is fundamentally better education and a very few points. Actually, not a lot.
Wait, well, better education?
Better education.
Educating the policymakers?
Correct, but between K and 8, the problem we have is our K through 8th grade education is not great. It's really bad. And so you essentially have, well, you're probably doing better, but I would say it'd be interesting to see the curriculum that you're learning from, because my guess is it's not as robust as it could be. Because it's learning from other people, like the education market is filled with bias, hysteresis effect from the folks that have been doing it for a while.
Well,
And we learned about it.
I don't teach my kids to code, but what I do teach them to do is to be able to effectively communicate with humans.
That's awesome.
I don't see a better, if you're a great leader and you can listen and you can communicate, you will have abundance.
I agree. There's a couple of things I would teach kids about logic, probability theory.
That is not taught in school.
I know it's not.
That is not taught.
But instead we teach math. And it's like, well, I mean, I love math. I usually love math, but I don't care if you love math. You need to learn logic. Even just rudimentary stuff, so you're not fooled so easily. So you can discern.
Well, math is a truth. It's not
correct. Math is just an application of logic back to a domain. That's fine. There's other ways to apply that. Legal law is essentially an application of logic to computer.
So okay. So now, all right.
So that's one thing.
So hold on. Forget the WWE and wrestling. That's where she comes from, right? The gal that runs the Department of Education. Is that where she's from? Her brother or whatever started WWE or whatever. Linda McMahon.
Yes, that's right.
Maybe it was the wife. But all right. So we redo K through 8. It's logic,
probability theory, market, profit seeking, the importance of I call it economic calculation.
Okay.
The importance of this is how you coordinate behavior. Yeah. It's an easy question. I would ask an 8th grader, should we implement minimum wage laws?
So you would ask them now?
Well, I would say, I ask you adults that, like, should we implement minimum wage laws? It's a perfect example of poor economic reasoning. Perfect example.
Because you don't believe we should have minimum wage?
Of course not. Because minimum wage laws fundamentally make unemployable people that don't make that wage in the market. Like, just make them unemployable. But essentially, wages aren't fixed. They emerge from price conversations between people. So if you feel like there's an asymmetry in price conversation, what I could support, if government wants to get involved, would say, okay, let's make a wage negotiator. Everybody in our state, every in our city has a right to a wage negotiator when they're negotiating their stuff. Great. I'm okay with that.
It's like buying a house in Texas. You need to have a lawyer.
You need to have a wage negotiator so to help you, because there is asymmetry involved. I've employed and I've been employed and I employ. But the problem is when you fundamentally don't understand that the wages emerge from a labor market, and if you are able to earn more, it's because you are of use to an organization. And if the state comes in and says you cannot hire anybody except for at this rate, you've literally just made a whole bunch of people unemployable.
But isn't that what unions do?
Unions try to affect the same thing, but badly. They actually concentrate power. I mean, there's some unions probably do a decent job, but I'm not going to celebrate all unions. But I'm totally fine with people, getting help to negotiate their wages. I think that's totally fine. That's an extreme. I don't mind.
It's like you're trying to
socialism. I don't mind the concept of helping each other, hanging on each other. People think open source is socialism. And I'm like, no, it's not, because it's only socialism when you apply force to force people. So to me, the unions aren't a problem until somebody comes in and goes, I don't want to be part of the union. That's too bad. You are going to be.
That's right.
That's the problem. And it's not the act that people get together and try to negotiate together. Right. It's when somebody says, I don't want to participate, and they're coerced into doing that.
But as you employ more and more AI, you will inherently displace
symmetry. No, 100%. 100%. I am concerned not about the job loss, though. This is where I talk to people. They're like, oh, I'm worried about the job loss. Really? Wouldn't it be awesome if all only had to work 10 hours a week? I want to lose 30 hours in my job a week. Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah. The concern is the wealth created by intelligent systems, the distribution of that wealth. That is the appropriate concern. Like, will that wealth that's generated by all this intelligent systems, will it be distributed I'm not saying equally because that's impossible because people need wealth differently, but will it be distributed in such a way that it has multiple people can participate? That's what's not been happening in my lifetime. And so this is the thing I'm most concerned about with AI, is the rapidly accelerating inequality of wealth distribution that AI will engender unless we have alternative systems, alternative patterns.
So you have people.
That's what we do. So that's exactly what I'm doing at Open Teams. That's why we built Navari. That's why we build this, is so multiple people can own their own AI system,
Right.
and essentially create the same magic that they feel from ChatGPT and OpenAI and Google, and they feel this magic that comes. You can have that magic in your company for yourself, supported by an army of Pyro scientists who are helping.
And this is an open source.
Open source is an open source operating system called Navari. We're turning Navari into an open source operating system. It's open source already, making it an operating system for applied AI. So it's a term we're calling because AI has, people imagine AI about lots of things. Imagine artificial or agentic AI.
Right.
To me, agentic AI is overwrought. Applied AI is what we need. It's basically, you have business problems. In fact, there are 100,000 people out there with business problems together. Let's go help them. Young people are like, oh, my life's over. AI is going to take my job. No, it's not. Are there humans? Are humans going to have wants in the future?
Yeah.
Go serve those humans,
Yeah.
right? There's going to be jobs serving those humans. What you do for them may change. And hey, wouldn't it be awesome if you can actually live your life and not have to work 40 hours a week?
And that's the difference between UBI and UHI?
I don't know. So UBI is Universal Basic Income. I don't know what UHI is.
I think it was branded by Elon Musk. I think it's Universal High Income.
Oh, Universal High Income. Okay. I would say, so UBI is, I understand its motivation and I'm not opposed to it fundamentally. I'm concerned by it because I'd rather have a world where it's unnecessary, where essentially you have UHI, and so the government doesn't have to do anything because people are, there's prosperity and it abounds. Why was we're high?
It sounds like both.
It kind of, but it's not. But I think we have essentially seen a vision over the horizon of how we get there. But the way we get there is actually through voluntary means. That's how we get there. We get there through enabling communities, by lighting them up, enabling the natural inclinations we have to cooperate with each other and to build together, and then respect that and try to avoid the evil that slices through every human heart, right? Because it does. And it's kind of like, what are you going to do today? Are you going to go this way with your
That's right.
incentives? Or are you going to go this way with your incentives? And really, what's the difference? A lot of it has to do with how you treat others, how you think of them.
Yeah. What are your
Philosophy of how two ships that start out with the same coordinates
and slowly drift,
Yeah.
right? It does. It happens in relation. Are you married?
Yes. Married, 6 kids.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
God bless you. If a husband and wife don't have perfect alignment, I would argue.
Does that ever happen in perfect alignment? But maybe for moments there.
I think so. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think so.
But go on. You're saying if they go in perfect alignment, the drift starts to happen.
Then the drift starts to happen, and that's why maybe divorce happens, as an example.
Yes.
But with AI, and we're not talking about products. We're not talking about your product. We're just talking in general.
No, AI.
As you,
Ability.
as because you were saying the evil that slices through man's
Yeah.
heart, right? As you start monkeying with,
So this is the challenge. AI can amplify. Because you essentially have intelligence. It used to be, it was hard. Like I think back when I was younger, I had to go to the library to get knowledge. I had to go get physical books. And exactly, I had to go, and it was tough actually. It took a lot of time. I built a desk, go check out a library book. And all of a sudden the internet came along, all this knowledge at my fingertips. AI is amplifying that knowledge at your fingertips. So what it can do is it will amplify good or bad.
yeah, I see it amplifying hate pretty easily.
Correct. That's the problem. The incentive structure we set up through social media and essentially eyeball attention, the attention economy, has amplified the 7 deadly sins because it's the easiest way to get attention.
This
Just to focus.
So this is why some of the young people, right, are subscribing to Luigi Mangione and Nick.
Yes, I think that's part of it. It's totally that's part of it. Exactly. So this is what I'm concerned about. It's essentially, but it's a human issue. It's a spiritual issue. It's an issue. It's a moral issue in every human, because it can also do the other. And part of it is because there's so much incentive for people to put.
But let's talk about the evil.
It's not about evil. There is evil. There is evil in people. There is.
So that was created by God.
we have the choice.
we can debate the creation of it, but I would say that it's engendered, it's intrinsic.
Yeah.
It's intrinsic, and you have a choice. Every one of us can look at our lives, and I say this all the time to folks. If I just took your life and I just took snapshots of you at the worst part of your life, when you made choices that you today say evil, I could stitch a snapshot of your life together. It would make you the villainous, most villainous person in the world.
That's right.
And I could also take a snapshot of your life that would make you a saint. So I choose to look at people through that lens with an awareness of the fact that there's this other. It's partly how I look at myself too, because I know there's things I'm not perfect. I have moments where I have ideals. In fact, what I want out of AI is I want an AI. I'm feeding this information because of this. Like, what happens today is you're not sure why it's giving you, if you have a feed on Reels or on TikTok,
Sure.
you don't know why it's giving you this stuff, right? Well, it's because of past attention you paid to something, and mixed with
Slow down your scrolling or
exactly something. But I kind of want, religion for AI. I want to be able to go to church, and then go to essentially, oh, actually, I don't want more. I want more of this, less of this. I want to have a choice, and that's not offered to any. There's no social media out there that offers you that choice. Why? Because it doesn't match their business model.
So in the future, where you have social media, would you be able to apply your own AI
That's what I'd like
to social media?
That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see, I think that's possible. I think it's possible to essentially use social media for the benefit of others specifically. I have friends, actually, a really good friend who created Ancestry.com. And he was actually...
Shout out to the LDF, bro.
Exactly. But he also created the fastest growing community on Facebook back before Facebook took away all the communities.
Interesting.
Right? That it was about family.
Oh, okay.
And this is an example of, social media has powerful opportunities for lots of good in the world.
For sure.
But it's this, I think it's this incentivization. I was listening to the CEO of Cloudflare, Matthew Prince. He lives in Park City, actually. I was at the Utah AI Summit just recently, so I kind of got a little dose of a bunch of Utah flavored AI.
Yeah.
But they were saying, and I love what he said about the problem is, what's the economy of AI going to be tomorrow? Because the economy of attention is what created the incentive structures that made social media just amplify your worst.
Yeah, that's
your worst.
Absolutely.
And that is something we do all have to be attended to. Is AI amplifying my worst or my best? And that requires, I think it requires regular regular meditation, regular, call it prayer, self-meditation. To me, that's the value of religious faith, is to, and you don't have to, you actually just believe in good. You don't have to believe in God to have a religious faith. And I'm trying to produce good in the world. You need to reflect on the impact of what you're doing. It's not enough just to maximize shareholder value. It's not enough just to maximize some profit and loss column. But you do have to do economic calculation to make sure what you want to do in the world can actually be accomplished.
And you think this all can be accomplished without the support or the legislation from the federal government?
No, I don't actually. I mean, a small part of me wishes. A small part of me wishes we could actually reduce the scope of government generally. Well, what I would do is actually I'd increase the scope locally and decrease it globally. Like I have Nicholas Taubtaber actually wrote this initially. It's the Commonwealth concept of governance. Like the more people you're governing, the smaller the rules should be and the more precise they should be. And the fewer people you're governing, the more generic it could be. It's almost like at the very world government should be anarchist, and the local can be you have a communist group in a local tribe. But you're really big, it's got to be really small. So that's what I typically believe. I actually believe government has a role to play, but it over-rotates so easily. And then inadvertently just empowers the monopolists.
And the
That's my concern.
Displace the government?
Not today.
Seems like they.
I think AI can facilitate good governance.
When you look at the history of governance, from like you go from hunter-gatherers to tribal,
Sure.
right? It still exists in Afghanistan.
Sure. Still exists in the world today.
Yeah, it still exists in the world today. Like our form of representational democracy is very odd. I have somebody from my fiefdom who I send, with 2 suitcases and a plane ticket to DC to speak to other representatives about
My particular
about issues, about issues that we face back in our area.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be a representative of my interests.
Well,
and for what reason?
What we've forgotten, a really critical, important point of representative democracy, is that it was limited in what it would do. Like the whole point of the Constitution was a very limited set of things that we even talk about. It wasn't let's solve every problem in the world. It was like, okay, federal government solves a very specific set of problems, and we use representative democracy to look at those issues. Everything else,
But the government has to become a religion. And the same way that you have a Bible.
I would say government plus technoscience. This sort of
Yeah, absolutely. But just like any Bible, right? Before we got to the King James Bible, right? There was a version of the Bible where Jesus is sitting on. I don't know if you know the story. It's very interesting. Jesus sitting on the roof with his best friend.
I haven't. This is the Gospel of Thomas or something.
I couldn't. I'm Jewish. I don't necessarily, I can't necessarily say I know where it comes from. It was then removed. Before King James version. But
I think it's out of Ethiopia. There's this Gospel of Thomas is making around. Maybe you're talking. Okay, but
so he's sitting on top of the roof.
Yeah.
He says to him, I am the Son of God. And he goes, no, you're not. You're just Jesus. He goes, I'll prove it to you. Watch. Pushes him off the roof. Right? He says, before he pushes him off the roof, he says, I'll bring you back to life. Push him off the roof. Kid dies. Then he brings him back, and they're sitting both on the roof. And he says to him, see how I did that? Now, listen, whether or not that is a good lesson then to teach to people.
Correct.
It's probably one of the reasons why I didn't make it in the current iteration. And I will say current, sure, is that things evolve and things iterate. It reminds me of, iOS 22.
Yeah.
I don't know how we went from 16. Is that what we were at? iOS 16 to It was. I don't know if you're an iPhone guy. You probably.
I'm an iPhone guy.
Oh, you are?
I am. Yeah.
Dude, that shocks me.
Isn't that amazing?
That was.
No, it's
I would
amazing.
feel you'd bring out some Google.
I know, or something. Real brick that I've tried to do myself. And
with green font or something.
10 years ago, I might have. But I understand. Convenience matters to me too.
Yeah. You've fallen to that religion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I just try not to make it my ultimate religion. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We could talk about this forever, but I think I want to give you, just because as we're wrapping up.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's been a lot of fun. You're a very entertaining conversational.
Listen, I think what you have to say is really interesting. I want to do this again, but I want to come to Austin.
Yeah, come to Austin.
Invite you to come to
absolutely.
Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to have you in Austin.
We'll
absolutely.
We'll go. What is it? 6th Street.
6th Street.
Well,
yeah.
6th Street. They have these donuts that I love.
Oh.
You know what it's called?
Voodoo.
Voodoo Donuts.
Voodoo Donuts.
Get some Voodoo Donuts.
There's also Gorditas. There's another one that has the both are amazing.
Okay, I like to eat. I also say fit, but I also like to eat. I want to give you.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I want to give you a second to plug your stuff.
Yeah.
So the company's called Open Teams.
Open Teams, yes.
And where can they learn more about this?
OpenTeams.com. You can go on LinkedIn. You can go on X. You can go on Blue Sky. I think there's multiple places to go. Okay. Open Teams.
Whatever religion
you subscribe to. We have an ambassador.
That's right.
Religion.
And
OpenTeams.com to learn.
And how is it funded?
Excellent point. So we're funded with investment and then customers.
Okay.
So currently we provide customers with technical infrastructure to support their AI.
Okay.
And we're helping customers build their own AI solutions.
Are you still looking for investment?
Yes, we're always looking. We are not always, but we are looking for investment.
Equity side, debt side,
both. We can have that conversation with if somebody wants to give us a call.
Yeah.
We're really looking for use cases and customers. We have helped so many already, but I think we've helped so many more, particularly governments, particular organizations who need to control their data, because the siren song that's happening right now is you're saying, oh, look at me, I've got this fancy demo that looks that AI is going to solve all my problems. You're not quite sure how it's going to solve your problem. Do you just assured it will? But it's going to take your data, and then all of a sudden you find yourself a server on somebody else's land.
Yeah, it goes back to feudalism.
It does, and especially governments. I think people need to understand that that's actually not good for them long term, because the relationship you have with your government is really important. And we talked earlier about kind of corporate capture of government, which is a problem, the corruption of corporate capture. And I love companies. I think companies serve an important role, but they don't do the governance thing. There need to be lots of companies aren't. So AI right now presents a clear and present danger of us losing our autonomy collectively, individually.
Yeah. It's scary.
For convenience.
I own a company.
And so we help people not do that.
Imagine feeding all my data.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? To some other person's model.
And then going, wait, and then I just get back intelligence. You can't outsource intelligence. Yeah. So I think, honestly, the market will learn this. It's just a matter of how much suffering will happen before they do. And we're trying to minimize that so they get back to something that will work sooner.
It's fun to say outsource intelligence. Toys R Us.
Yeah.
Remember that company?
I do. Yeah.
Gone the way of the buffalo
Yeah.
as they outsource intelligence
Yeah.
to Amazon.
Oh, there's a couple of reasons for that too, but yes.
But the one,
yes, that
the
is.
one thing that they were good at, which is selling toys, they're like, you know what? Just you do it for us. And then they woke up one morning, they're like, wait, you don't need me anymore?
Yeah.
And it just seems like you have all these corporations, apart from maybe the publicly traded ones. But, let's say, with revenues under 100 million,
Yes.
and they're feeding all their data into these models, and then they wake up
Yes.
and their technology has been displaced by a competitor.
Correct.
How did they get that knowledge?
Correct. Exactly.
That is a
People have data. Data is the oil for people of the future.
That's right.
Own it, protect it, understand the business value you're creating, bring AI to you. And Open Teams helps you do that by leveraging the open source ecosystem that made it possible for Google to do it in the first place. Right? They just organized it.
Right.
They contributed some, but there's a massive ecosystem of really bright people who have created this world of abundance that you can organize. But what we do is help organize that for people, be a single hand to shake, a single throat to choke, so you can get, so you're not just asking the community for something. You get a company who is backing the service. So we're providing and helping you own your data, own your AI.
So
that's what we do.
So real quick, target avatar, like company size, what are you looking for?
So we can help companies. So anywhere from, you usually typically have to be 100 to 200 people. We have another sister incubator that services really smaller companies.
Yeah.
But,
How about revenue size?
so revenue, usually when you start thinking about AI, you're going to need probably 10 million a year or more. If you have less than that, you can think about it. But you're probably going to really need some other assistance from, say, an incubator we have.
And what about vertical?
So 10 million so verticals, finance verticals.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is creating an applied AI society to support mom and pop shops right now.
Okay.
So
That's the incubator part?
that's incubator plus community activity to sort of support. I want to support people that have 100,000 of revenue a year.
Yeah.
Right? How do they? Because it'll be a little different. They can't necessarily invest to build their own AI exactly, but they can use open source
Still participate.
to participate, at least to be aware of what they're giving to somebody else and what they're keeping.
But your target avatar, like who, your constituency?
So
you're trying
Open Teams, so I actually want to market to everybody in the world through different facets. So if it's small, then we have the Applied AI Society and open source volunteers and people that help that. Open Teams targets, and then we have Incubator, which targets startups from 0 to roughly 500,000 a month, roughly 6 million a year.
Is this tied into Y Combinator at all?
No, but we're similar in what we do. Like it's a virtual incubator. We provide lots of help to people who are just getting started. I love entrepreneurship. I want to help people. I was an entrepreneur. I came from an academic to an entrepreneur. Tough lessons learned. There's stuff.
There's very few examples of that, apart from Scott Gallagher.
There is a lot of people are actually afraid. A lot of people go, "Oh, you're an academic." Yeah, and
It's usually the reverse. You make a bunch of money,
you go be an academic.
and then you got it.
There's examples in the valley of others, but I learned so much, and I essentially want to help people. It doesn't have to come from academia, but there's a lot to understand about how money, how does investment work? How does there's a lot of information. So we help people do that. Build companies quickly. Exactly. I'm very eager to do that more and more. And then Open Teams, we help companies from 10 million to 10 billion of revenue.
And then vertical wise.
Vertical, so any vertical really, but
You said finance.
just finance, oil and gas, consumer products, retail space. If you're selling a lot, you're trying to figure out. But it's actually, instead of the vertical of the industry, it's more like, your sales department, your marketing department, or your finance team, or where are you going to be automating in your organization, and where is AI going to help you, and how do we help you do that? Then what we love is helping people actually get ROI out of their data. What's their uniqueness?
Seems like
own model.
this almost seems like something that should be bolted onto like a Shopify platform.
I agree. Yes, I agree.
Call him.
I agree. No, we will.
Canadian Jewish guy. Give him a
Totally agree. We're right now trying to grow. We're still a startup at Open Teams, and we're right now in the phase of getting the word out, helping people understand what we have. Because lots of people,
the resume full.
a lot of people don't know. They don't realize. They're like, because trillions of dollars have been investing in one model. I call it vertical AI. We apply a horizontal AI, an integrated AI where you can own your own result. I want to give every company the experience so they feel like, I've got my own Google right here. I don't need to go to Gemini because I've got something here. Now, getting there is going to take some time, but the good news is you need small wins. It's a lot of small wins that are going to result in the final result. So it's not like we have to take on giving you magic ASI tomorrow. We give you small automated wins that help you reduce costs, grow revenue.
Local government, great application.
Correct. Local governments are big. We have a big state local education arm that works. That's another vertical is actually government. We have a whole government vertical. Yeah. We're going to countries. We're talking to countries to make sure they can have their own sovereign AI and help them. We're exporting great American open source to other countries, actually.
I'm getting so excited. This reminds me of that medical doctor that ran for the presidency like 15 years ago.
Ron Paul?
No.
Larry.
No, sir. Because we're going here and we're going.
Oh.
God, I can't remember that guy's
I don't
name.
remember him either.
But I get so excited thinking about the application of what open teams can do.
I do too. I get excited about lighting up 1 million applied AI engineers. Yeah. It's a community effort. Yeah. Like I literally want to make 1 million millionaires.
And you could do it across the world. It doesn't have to be.
Correct.
What an interesting.
Anyway, super. Well, thank you.
Chatbots, thanks so much.
Talking about it.
It was awesome.
Great to see you later.
Great chat.
Still time.
All right, guys.